right, hello everyone, and welcome to the second Answer the Call in 2 days. This is going to be CitizenCon retrospective with the community. I did a watch party last night that's up on the YouTube right now, and I also did a podcast immediately after my watch party on Captain Burks' channel. So when the event ended, I was also exhausted, so I did not want to kind of continue going and managing and streaming. It's a lot of work, so we had to do the this today on Sunday because it was just too much. As soon as the show ended, a bunch of people popped in the queue, wanted to talk about CitizenCon, and I figured we should do it today as well. I wasn't actually planning on doing an Answer the Call today, so I've spoken plenty about my feelings about CitizenCon. I give it pretty high marks because the show was really well put together until the very end. It was horrible at the end. Just rambling nonsense with bits of very good information. But the overall way they communicated what's going on was pretty good. The road to 4.0, very disingenuous, of course, very classic CIG marketing of themselves. We're clearly not getting all these things in 4.0. That was pretty cringe. Then yeah, I don't know. My favorite panels were probably the flight tuning as well as the resource management ones. They just look like they're going to open doors for a real game at some point, but we'll have to see. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the calls because, again, I've shared my opinions quite a bit. And our first caller is Zane. Zane, can you hear me?
Yeah, I do. Can you hear me?
I hear you really well.
Nice. So, yeah, in the introduction, you pretty much summed up my feelings about this sitcom.
Yeah.
Uh, um, yeah, like I think this is not my favorite sitcom so far, but I have to give props to Jared because the production quality this year was really good. The pacing up
Yep.
until CR showed up, it was almost flawless, exception made for like Twitch issues, but I don't think that was something on CIG's part.
No, that was all of Twitch was having problems at that moment.
Yeah, but like up until CR came on and talked for 2 hours straight, the pacing was really good. My favorite uh, panel was the one on the flight model. Uh, One, because I really cared about it, and I'm pretty hyped for the changes. And two, because I think out of all the things they showed, is the closest one. And yeah, pretty much the reason I didn't like the other panels is that uh, they were either too far away in the future, like
Hmm.
uh,
The bunker.
our play. Who knows? Like 2 years, 3 years. Who knows when we'll see that stuff? and and yeah, and the other stuff, and also because they were too much talk and little actual content.
Yeah.
I think the one where they showed most stuff was the planets one, but yeah, still planets,
So
just
just
with
art.
different
Yeah.
assets. Yeah, just art. And yeah, as you said, the road to 4.0 team was pretty dumb because only the planets were 4.0 stuff. Maybe we'll get the flight model changes. I hope so. I hope we get them before 4.0 actually. And
It
yeah,
doesn't
that's
sound
pretty
that
much it.
way.
I don't know, like I don't have any hopes either. But I don't know why they don't do the same thing they did with capacitors, where instead of balancing per ship, they say, okay, we have these classes, and for the initial release tier 0, uh, every class has the same stats, and then we balance and do more work. Because I think it would really benefit from getting in the hands of the players and nailing all the small details. Because we know CIG kind of sucks at this.
Hmm.
They miss a lot of stuff when, especially considering these uh, changes have been worked on for Squadron. So maybe they work really well for light fighters, but not so much when you have big ships versus, I don't know, like a prospector. So shit you don't really see in Squadron.
That's a good point.
And
How will it work for the industrial? I mean, they showed the mole in that like panel, but that doesn't mean that they used it. You know?
yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of the footage is just irrelevant. I think
Yeah.
it just r- uh, random footage. I think even from the current patch. So yeah,
Hmm.
the only uh thing I really didn't like about this SitCon, which kind of worries me, is the skill stuff. Uh, and I don't think it has a place in Star Citizen, even if they do it like Tarko. Uh, Tarko skill system has a lot of issues, and I don't trust CIG to fix them shortly. So yeah,
I guess that's fair. I have no issue with that. I think people are overreacting, and I do think to comment on your comment, it doesn't have a place in Star Citizen. I don't think anybody knows what Star Citizen is to be able to make a comment like that. They've they've sold it in 13,000 different ways to everybody to make everybody feel like Star Citizens for them. And
that's true.
this is just another situation where you thought it was one thing, but it never was in the first place.
But they made it clear though that this kind of stuff wouldn't be a thing. But they also said it for eating, and then they changed it. But the
Yep.
reason
They've done this
I
20
didn't
times.
the reason I didn't like is that first of all, it shows feature creep is still a thing.
Sure.
They're still adding new features they never mentioned. And the other issue I have with it, you talked about it in the podcast with Burks,
Uh-huh.
is that let's say you have two pilots with the same skill, the same ships. The one who has played more will have better G-force resistance and will have an advantage just because he played the game longer. And this is a similar issue you get in Tarko because I joined the game mid wipe. Not only my opponents have better gear, they also have better skills. And when you're maxed out on skills in Tarko, it's like you're playing a different game. It's like I'm playing uh,
Can I
real
stop
war
you
mil
there?
sim. Sure.
Sure. The reason I the reason I want to stop you is because the the comparisons to Tarkov are not fair. In one way in particular, Tarkov still has not found a way to balance um long-term gameplay. They absolutely need their wipes in order to keep the game going. People are hitting max skills too quickly, or it's not a situation where I believe if you don't use the skill, you do start to lose it. If is that correct? I'm not sure, but if you watch the podcast, Richard Tyrer also mentioned that the skill will be based on skill loss will be based on death of a spaceman mechanics. So
Sure. I mean,
I
they
think
can balance.
it's hard to make that comparison. Yes, are we getting passive attributes that are going up? This is in literally every MMORPG that I've ever played. You're gaining skill to like for mining, but while you're gaining skill for mining, you're also gaining strength skill. And the attributes that you have are not the thing that decides whether you live or die in a fight. It's the skills and player skill. So it's just adding depth to it. But I'm not discrediting anything you're saying. I totally get what you're saying, and I don't even disagree with it. But it's I don't think it's as big of a deal as people are making out to be.
Sure, it's too soon to tell. Like they didn't even give us that many information. I
Yeah.
just um, have a bad aftertaste in my mouth because, in my opinion, uh, if you have a new player and a player that has been playing the game for hundreds of hours, there is already a gap between them because one guy has nothing and the other guy has
This
good gear.
that argument makes no sense. Like, of course that's gonna happen.
Yeah, and that is normal. But
Yeah,
the problem is when on top of this you also add skills, so the gap is even wider. Because theoretically speaking, let's say I play Tarko. Okay, I kill a guy which has uh, the best gear in the game. Even with the best gear, uh, he has better skills than me, and the same thing could happen in Star Citizen. Maybe I join the game, I'm the
exactly.
best pilot, and is that a good thing for you? Like with the
Think about
same
what you
gear,
just said.
the same skills,
Would you
just to
consider ships a gear? Would you consider ships gear? Because I would.
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So people who can buy ships on the website now don't have the advantage that they had before for players who play every day and play really hard. It may be widening the gap in some places, but it is certainly possibly shortening the gap in others. Think about
Mm,
that
I
too. Is there's give and take in every situation, and I think that that is definitely an attempt to go. People who play the game often are going to have some advantages over others because, well, guess what? They play the game a lot, and I hear a lot of people who go, "I don't have enough time." I keep hearing that stuff to play an MMO. Guess what? Too fucking bad. Like, this is how these games work. And you bought a game and had no idea that what you were getting into.
mm, I don't know. Like that is also based on the assumption that people who buy a lot of stuff on the store don't also play the game a lot. Because if you combine the two,
Of course.
then someone who just is good at the game but doesn't play a lot, it doesn't spend money, as I said, the gap will always be there.
Yeah.
But with skills, since it's time based, it's widened. And
It's not time based. It's not just time
yeah,
based. Death of a Spaceman plays into it. Again, they should have never, if we want to talk about the skills thing, they should have never spoken about it. It should have been a very clear and concise uh panel like all the other ones where a lot of the questions people could have had were answered, because all that happened here is you had two clowns
yeah,
putting on
a lot
clown
of
makeup
questions.
on live on camera and just making derailing the entire conversation around the game. It was so fucking stupid. I can't even describe how dumb that was. And because now I'm just reading Twitch chat and everybody is speculating.
Yeah, yeah,
and
there is too
and
much
there's
speculation. That
too
is
much. I don't
a
even
big
want to
issue.
talk about it. I'm speculating, you're speculating. It doesn't mean anything until they tell us how it works.
Yeah, but it's still like as I said, I didn't like it. But if they plan on doing it, at least it's nice that they said it so that we can speculate and they can hopefully read our thoughts and maybe steer the direction uh, they have internally based on what the community talks about, and hopefully in the future also give us more information about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I had to give a vote, 7 out of 10 for the
Okay.
sitcon. I just enjoyed previous one more because I like the GDC style type of presentation, unlike Gen
Yeah.
12 server meshing. Like I'm that type of guy, so yeah. And that's it.
All right, Zane. I mean, I'm sorry that I was a little aggressive towards you about all this stuff. It's just I'm actually so upset that that happened. I'm not actually upset about you or the way you felt about any of these things. I think all your points are valid. It's
No, no,
just,
that's fine.
yeah,
That's
it's,
fine. That is why I came here on the podcast. It was to
yeah,
talk about it and have a different opinion.
yeah. It's I've played a lot of games like this, and these type of skills have, not a huge impact on the a fight or how much damage you do or anything like that. I think the GeForce example was a really stupid one. I think better examples are a little bit more stamina, being able to hold and carry a little bit more in your backpack.
Yeah,
It,
that stuff
it's
I'm fine with
Yeah, like these things
actually.
are impactful, but they're not. Um, winning and losing a fight necessarily. It's just showing a form of progression in the game that's quite simple and I don't know, maybe a little bit cool, but it just depends on where they want to take it. And now we're sitting here freaking out because they didn't give a good enough detail and share all that stuff. So,
It's IG.
yep, classic.
One last thing. Thank you for doing the stream yesterday. It really helped spicing up the boring pieces, and I had a lot of fun. So I hope you also do it for next year's.
Yeah, I think it was so much fun, and I have my reservations of doing it the same way. I spoke kind of candidly about it with a few people where I would like to do it with more people. I don't think it makes sense for everybody to watch it with their own community, but at the same time, just me and Noodle was it felt like the perfect balance. So yeah, we'll see how we do it next year, but I'm leaning more towards just if Noodle's still interested in Star Citizen next year, doing it that way again.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think it was the perfect balance
Yeah.
between I can hear what they're saying and I can also see a live reaction.
Yep.
And when they aren't really saying anything, maybe have some fun stuff happen. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was great.
There were some laughs and there were some tears yesterday, I think. All right, Zane, we'll let you go, buddy.
Bye bye.
Bye now. Our next caller is Quams. Let me switch. There we go. Quams, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hey, Mike.
Hello.
So, uh, uh, just to the previous guy, I'm with you, Mike. I don't really care about the skill system at the moment because it's really just a side remark. But I sort of watched with Glee.
Oh, whoops. I meant to mute my mic and I muted you. So if don't mind, you were muted for like 2 seconds. So if I coughed in your ear, I apologize.
It's terrible, Mike. I have to shoot myself now. How can you do that? Yeah, I know. I don't know how much of my last sentence came over, but the skill system is it's a side remark on what you call Clown's panel, and I think that's pretty good hit there. And I sort of watch with Glee as the community blows up about it. Maybe that's my mean streak coming out, but yeah. Maybe the one thing of the CitizenCon, I didn't watch it live because I had guests, so I'm watched it this morning with a cup of coffee and all stuff. But man, wasn't it the really saddest and most boring ship panel of ever? Any CitizenCon ever?
I don't know because I loved the Crusader one. But like the ground vehicles and yeah, there wasn't too much there. The internals of the what is it? The Corsair was pretty cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they share so much with the ships. I mean, there was no really like crazy new capital concept, it may what's funny is like you call it the saddest, but I feel like it was the most it shows the example of like they've been sharing everything with us, so there was no surprises.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe I did. Maybe I was too low on coffee when I watched it. Was the first panel I actually looked at it.
Okay.
But what I mean, yes, the C1 or M1 or E1 or whatever it is. It looks nice. I'm still wondering why you add that to the game because it's sort of I don't see a special niche for that one. But I mean, Crusader ships are just awesome looking. So
yeah, I think that was their money grab for
yeah.
People really seem to be buying the two-person multi-crew ship. I said it on I think Burks' podcast yesterday where it's the perfect kind of size ship for most people in the world. I would imagine they have one or two friends that they would play the game with, maybe 3 or 4 max, and it's a ship that kind of can manage all of those people quite easily, and it's not expensive.
Yeah. it's just I don't know. I found it a bit lackluster. I found it a bit wooden as well. The way how they transported it. I sort of John Grew can be a lot more enthusiastic. I don't know. I was really a bit like it
Why?
was the same. But
Why would you want any of that around ships? At least
I don't
it's been
know.
like the bane of this game's existence, from at least from my perspective, forever. I don't care about their ship enthusiasm as much. They seemed very enthusiastic about a lot of gameplay elements, and I thought that was a really good thing for the show. And the ship thing was an afterthought for the first time ever. Like, I look at that as a huge positive.
Oh yeah. I think you convinced me there. That's basically good, because especially you're right with one thing. So no big capital money grab that at the end will be out in when I'm under the earth or something. But anyway, the other panel where I was a bit like, why did they need to do it, was the pyro planets. I mean, I'm more looking forward to actually having a ship and flying over them, and give the artists a bit of 5 minutes in some
you're gonna screenshot. You're gonna screenshot some Spectrum posts.
I like doing that for a while. I don't post them in Spectrum. I just keep them in my chest and only look at them myself. But anyway, but what there's two things that really, and that's the same with you, that really made me excited is the flight model changes. Even though I have a bit of a fear if they might have forgotten the industrial ships, so we have to see how that pans out. And because industrial ships I need to have means to run away. It shouldn't be too easy, but it shouldn't be too hard either. And I sort of, but from the fighter perspective, it looks like they might have found a good point there.
Yeah.
The one thing that annoyed the shit out of me was like, but we can't show it to you because we only have the Squadron 42, blah. And I was like, guys, what the hell? I mean, is your build pipeline of your whole software system so bad that you just can't do a special arena commander with the games in it? I mean, seriously, is your backend tech so bad that you can't do that? And second is, man, then just do a special PTU for a month and have people that actually love doing that, flying that, give you feedback on it.
Yep, the only ships available are the ones that have been worked on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, seriously, what's the point? You fire up a PTU and say, okay, the next 4 weeks, this PTU is just the Squadron 42 ships that we balance on it. Go.
Yep.
The really interesting thing, which the real engineer myself is starting to look at for me is a couple of side remarks in that one. And one was like, now the strafing thrusters are a bit weaker, so your main push for capacitor and boost is coming out of the main engine, which I think is extremely interesting, because all the ships have the main engine, and if, as an engineer, you look at it and say, it's always easier to have a preferred direction in any kind of moving thingy. And to finally actually go in that and give the form and the setup of the ships a bit of a function in the game as well, and not basically have the possibility to move around in all direction, I think makes it really nice. And with the maximum speed, it also, I think it will be more positional, the fights, even though there is no external force, which is always the thing if you talk about atmospheric flight. Being up is against gravity, so you get that advantage. You don't have that in space. But I'm really looking forward to see what's happening there. And again, that makes me again angry. Like, put that in a PTU, put that in Arena Commander at some point. I would like to try it out.
I think that's a huge point. Get it in our hands any means necessary.
The really interesting thing, just to turn around about that one, is that we have the Xi'an ships, the K2Al and the other one, the green one. And the Xi'ans have these, rotating thrusters. So basically what he just said, if they really put that to the work as they put, that would mean that these ships could be agile as hell. Yeah. And I think that would be awesome, really put that part forward to say, hey, and K2R is a light fighter scout, but basically, if it's able to jump around really and have this omnidirectional full boost power, I would love to see that part. I would really love to see that part. And
It would be nice.
losing it if you shoot it away. The other thing, and the same with you, is I mean, the resource networks. I still think we will talk about this in a year and haven't seen them, but that looks really interesting. And it was a side remark either on today's streams or already in the ATC from your side, and that will be extremely interesting, is because yes, somebody like myself who doesn't have so much time doing stuff but likes to tinker around with these kind of optimization problems, I can perfectly see me just running around in Hammerhead or any kind of other ship and playing with the resources, shifting them around, and suddenly giving a ship that normally wouldn't have that advantage, a real advantage against a pure light or medium fighter PvPer, and hear them cry because suddenly things are working. And that is what I always found interesting in Star Citizen as a conceptual idea. And if they move forward to it, awesome.
Yeah, it's any move in that direction sounds really exciting. The roles in the ship I thought was really sick, and that was just.
Yeah, I mean,
I said this, I think, on the watch party. I think a lot of people forget, or not forget, don't really realize what they mean by space sim or whatever. I think the sim aspects means like simulating sci-fi, and this is just the Scotty version of that.
Yeah. And I mean, what they showed with the rooms and all the things, I mean, there's 1,000 potential bugs, rooms not specified closely enough and leaking all the time. So, I mean, the design work that needs to be done to get this thing working in the game is huge. But on the other hand, I really, that will make a difference. That getting in, that being at least partially well balanced, will make a huge difference. That has the potential to catapult Star Citizen really away from anything else you have out there, in my personal opinion.
Sure.
That's new. That's good. And the last thing was the last 2 hours. I since they are on YouTube, I watched them on Noob's YouTube channel, and I was really like, oh man, it's 2 hours and 50 minutes interesting stuff. But honestly, that 50 minutes were really interesting if you cut it out. I mean, we have heard Chris 10 years. We don't 9 would have been enough. The 10th year was just not necessary in that scenario. But the couple of things which I really think are worthwhile to look at it, especially from a programming and a project side, is they actually move Squadron 42 from all we can see towards what you could call a game. This whole interaction mechanics, everything we saw about the mantling, the moving, the Mobiglass stuff being shown, that's for the first time UI wise and in people interaction wise. I have hopes that Squadron 42 won't be just an somehow interactive, seemingly good movie, because that's really the things. If you especially, I just played a bit of Cyberpunk 2077 again, because I watched the Netflix show, and that reminded me again. Okay, yeah, look, this is when you really have a game where the interaction is thought through by somebody who say, okay, this game needs to be playable. This game needs to be it's not about graphics. It's also about the user experience, if you want to call it that slightly trodden out word. And that gives high hopes, because that is something for me. That's something that can go into Star Citizen, or should go into Star Citizen in the Persistent universe easily over. And it also means that they basically come to the point where they slowly move into the last, I would say, 20% of development of Squadron 42, which basically means could be between 2 and 10 years. but that really made me hopeful. Another interesting thing is when they dropped the bomb of, oh, we threw out all the AI and started anew. Actually,
Well,
in the end,
you watched the Nubifier,
I watched
right?
yeah. I watched it.
Did
all.
he put the actual caveat on that they didn't actually throw it out?
No, I watched the Nubify didn't comment it. He
Of
just
course not.
has a 2 hours. 2 hour. No,
Yeah.
the point is, yes, they put a caveat in, and the caveat that's actually really interesting from a software engineering point of view, because what that basically means is that they have it's AI doing AI, Mike, is you have to everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's games or if it's robots or whatever. You always have basically the background engine is basically like the engine is like a car, and then the AI that actually interacts with you in a game is the driver in the car, what he does with the car. So basically, you give the skills, you give the mechanics and everything, and then you program in an own. So this whole subsumption is usually little boxes you connect with arrows. And that part is like programming your AI, but it's not the background working. And what Rich made pretty clear is that actually the car, in my bad metaphor, they didn't change that. It's there. They just put a couple of new gadgets in it. What they threw out is the driver, because the driver was bad, and they put in a new driver. And that also means that they actually reached a point that they can do this, which in all of before stuff we've always seen, like, it always seemed to be tightly integrated with the actual game code. But now they sit down with people who really think about, all right, what does this NPC need to do? What do I want it to do? What is his skill set? What is
the difference
character,
is,
if you really want?
this is something I just completely ignored, because the difference is it doesn't matter until the servers run. I was on a podcast on Captain Burks' channel after the CitizenCon. Richard Tyrer was there watching and was commenting in the chat and said, "Yep, still the issue." So, wow, they added a new driver. They did all these. Oh, it's so great. Don't care.
Well,
Don't care until it works. But that's my personal opinion. But
no,
how did I know that they were so stupid or overcomplicated before? Because they never did anything in the first place. This has no bearing on the PU, essentially, at this time, because the AI were never smart enough in the PU in the first place, because they were so slow.
Yeah, well, good point. Maybe that was really just me doing robotic AI, like, hey, cool, they did it the right way,
Exactly.
Again, I have my hopes for a timely release of any of that parts are basically somewhere in the basement, and I live under the roof. So yeah, I'm just looking at it. But those were a little bit of the small hidden gems in that 2-hour segment. They could have. I don't think they would have needed to do that. They should have done a good scripted.
It was thrown together last minute. It feels like they were just like, "Oh, people would love it if you guys just came on and talked. It would be great." So just do it, and it was just not organized the way the rest of the show was. It was really weird and dumb.
Yeah. I mean, it must have been, because Jared didn't. It's like, oh, I haven't seen that video. Like, okay, wait a second. I don't know if that's so cool in that circumstances, but yeah. No, I mean, better CitizenCons. The disappointment was always big afterwards. So maybe that one is for me a 6.5 out of 10. But it will most likely stay that way, because it's not something over promising, not some panel of something that God knows when it comes into the game, but it's more like, oh yeah, this is the principal direction, a bit nice graphics. Maybe I have to rewatch the ship panels with now having enough caffeine in my bloodstream, and maybe I revise my decision. But it's, I mean, we talked about our expectation for CitizenCon a while ago, and they were basically met, to be honest.
Yeah. I think that's why I was happy with it.
Yeah.
Until that last 2 hours, but Qualms, I guess we should wrap it up. There's quite a few callers here.
Yeah. Absolutely, sorry.
It's
definitely.
Okay.
Maybe the last 2 hours. That's exactly the thing. It's like, well, why? But here we go.
All right.
Sometimes CIC has to be CIG.
Yep.
Mike, as usual, really nice chatting with you, and take care.
All right, Quams. Yes, definitely nice chatting, and looking forward to the next one.
Yeah. Looking
Bye-bye
forward to
now.
it, man. Bye-bye.
Maybe when the AI are actually working.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. All right, Jedi is next. Jedi Menace. And let me get your name on the screen. There it is. Can you hear me, Jedi?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, I hear you as well. So, yeah, what were your thoughts on CitizenCon? Some highlights, lowlights?
Well, this is my first CitizenCon because I only got a
Okay.
starter pack in August.
Gotcha.
So I'm pretty new and stuff. But I liked what I saw. And the things that it have 4 things that really got me excited. Unfortunately, 2 of them would be tied to the whole master mode. So we would not be getting that anytime soon. That is the HUD changes
Mm-hmm.
and also the new star map, because that also ties into the in the HUD changes.
Sure.
The other 2 things I really liked was the the Moby Glass, the new Moby Glass,
Mm-hmm.
and also the FPS ping, the whole change to the ping and the mini map to go with it, and where they talked about basically having that information pushed for known areas like the major cities, New Babbage, Area 18. So that will help with a new player experience, because it was pretty jarring. It's like, okay, I'm out of this bed. I mean, I could do the basics because I've played MMOs, I've played first person shooters. I could move around, but where do I go? You
Yeah.
know? So those things is what really got me hyped. I wasn't as annoyed as other people about the rant that Chris Roberts did at the end, because I'm used to experiencing that, and unfortunately, I do that sometimes myself.
Yeah, it's
So,
if it was, it's so funny because if it was like its own thing the next day or something like that, it would have been okay. It just like
mhm.
I for me personally, the best part of CitizenCon was the way it was presented, and then that took away from that. The actual act of it is like we've seen it a million times. It was nothing new, but yeah.
Yeah. Also, the now we talked about the previous guy talked about why they push a special version to the public test unit, and quite on I didn't even think of it. So
Yeah,
it's
same.
possible they just didn't think of, because what I realize is they like to, hey, we had to get it all, or a certain large chunk pushed. They don't do more smaller. All
Well,
right,
this would
let's,
have to be all.
yeah.
Because, like, let's say, if, for example, your situation, you just bought a starter pack very recently. What if all the changes went to these other ships and you're left with the one that acts differently? You either would have a massive advantage or a massive disadvantage when it comes
No,
to this specific scenario, the ship
no,
stuff.
I'm talking about where he suggested pushing just for those ships on the public test unit
Yeah, like that would be the
universe.
argument for it, right?
Right.
Oh, okay, I
Just so that they
misunderstood.
could get some feedback.
Yeah,
As I say, I didn't think of it.
yeah,
So I mean, sometimes these ideas need to be
be put out there.
put out there. Also, the first caller had a really good point about, oh great, it slipped my mind now. But basically, when it comes to testing stuff and getting out things there, when they talk about the skills, maybe it was done just to get people to start talking about it. Give the let them see, okay, what are the things that people are concerned about, so it's either already addressed in their head, or some things they never thought about, so they want people to talk about it in a kind of emotional way to trigger things they may not have thought of. That's a possibility. I don't know.
I don't think so. They hide
Eh.
stuff from us all the time because they're afraid of how we'll react.
Well,
So
that
that,
is true. That
yeah,
is true.
that's.
But
I don't think that's the case.
I'm not gonna keep too much time because I have other people. There's only one other thing that I like that I saw
Mhm.
was the new AI with the how they operate and how they behave, and seeing it in action, not just with God mode, but seeing it in an actual playable state. Hopefully, we'll get at least the base version in the testing environment, so that we could give feedback.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thanks for the answer to the call. Thanks for having me. I'm not
Thank
going to
you.
keep you much longer, so you could get other people in here.
No problem. Thank you, Jedi. All right, and just a note for the next 3 callers. I need to kind of keep it actually around that length, about like 5-ish minutes, because I've not been feeling well. My wife is possibly going to be babysitting a child in a little while, and we need to know whether or not I'm a little sick or COVID sick. So I need to take a test so she can let that person know that she will or will not be able to babysit. So I have to kind of take care of that. So, all right, our next caller is Lock Us. Lock, can you hear me? I know you could hear me because I could hear myself. Hello, Lock Us.
Hello?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, we're
Hello.
just gonna have to use the stream audio then.
Yeah,
That's fine.
mute the stream audio. We're on a Discord call. What is this delay?
No, the Discord audio is the broken part.
Oh, you got to get it fixed. Yeah, I'll put you in a call with Gumbo. Talk to each other and get it fixed. I'll move Henrik down. You can't have a conversation with somebody on a 30-second delay. Hey, Henrik.
Hey, Mike.
What's up?
I have 2 problems. I'm too big of, too older for Bagger, and I have too good of a memory. Because skills...
Oh, Henrik's mad.
I can remember them talking about it before.
Okay.
It was when the female was starting her work into the universe, and I think they were talking about the what was it? The ship getting dirty while if you were not cleaning them. It is really old. It was when they did ATCs.
Yeah.
That old. So yeah, that's the more or less the first thing. If someone wants to, please can find it, because I used 3 hours yesterday and I was not able to because they are using numbers. Back then, it was around the verse 2.x. So.
And it was about what did it have to do with skills?
It was Chris. I think he was answer some of the 10 for the Chairman's questions.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, and he was going off about the skill thing he had in his head.
Did he say that he planned for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That it was mainly related to strengths, and also to get some more variety in the takedowns. So we all have the basis takedown everyone knew, but maybe you want to learn something else. So you have to go to this location, learn it from X NPC, and now you have a new way of taking a person down.
Well, they confirmed late last night that you will not be going to an NPC to get the takedown.
Okay.
You will automatically learn new takedowns by doing more takedowns. It'll just be that's part of like their skill system. The more you do it, it opens up like just new and unique things. It's not like a more effective takedown necessarily, but it's just a little unique change. It sounded like.
I just repeat what I remember him saying so many years ago.
Yep. I'm just repeating what was said by Richard Tyrer on our podcast last night.
A good thing you're saying that, so I'm not putting in false information that is no longer valid.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, good we got that cleaned up. Then another thing, I'm really hyped for the new bunkers because I'm seeing Jumptown down there.
Really? Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man. It's so big. It's so big.
Yeah, but that's also a good thing because you have then now it's an organization. You have to capture one of the hangars. You have to secure the area. You cannot land with one of the big ships. You have to fly down with the smaller ones, and you're
Maybe.
protected against the bombers by having the hangars.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it as it's still so concepty, and I'm still just like,
It's still really concepty.
yeah.
But it is something they have in the game right now. They could use these for when they come in. Get in.
Yeah, I just think we see it and we're all imagining what it could be, and it's going to be something entirely different than what we all think it will be.
Yeah.
Classic CIG.
Classic. Yeah, this is a classic CIG.
Mm-hmm. They had to do it. What else you got?
And then the gravity. Your strengths could be at least when you're carrying stuff. The different kind of gravity could help there if you have control over it on your ship.
Yeah,
so
that was cool. And then for me, the showing of the way the animation of push and pull and everything, that was sick.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. Trying to think of what else.
Yeah.
What about the ship combat stuff?
I think it was nice. It's something we have needed for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about what debuff you can get from strafing backwards. You could they could do something that they reduces the amount of firepower you have or something like that.
Yeah.
Because if you're strafing backwards, the ship is thinking you are about to crash into a mountain or something. So it's just slamming you backwards. So that could be the logic behind that.
Maybe.
A safety break. But it will take all the power from your weapons and all of that. Yourself won't regenerate as much.
That's not what I got from it. I think they're trying to prevent us from flying backwards because it's too effective.
100%. This is just a law reason why it both a law and some extra physical things they could do for straightening backwards.
Yeah. I don't know. Anything else stick out to you?
Not much.
Okay.
I think I've.
What would you rate this podcast?
Until the last one.
Or not this podcast. The sitcom.
The last. Yeah, I was talking about that. The last Chris Roberts and who was it? I don't remember the name.
Richard Tyrer.
Oh yeah, the last one with Chris Roberts and Richard Tyrer made me really miss the scripted keynotes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was brutal. I was just like banging my head against my desk, like just get to the fucking point.
You have said the same thing 5 to 6 times, both of you.
Yeah.
Can we please get that video showing?
Just show the damn video and just talk over it. Holy shit.
But I hear you're in a hurry, so.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, all right, Henrik, we'll let you go.
See ya.
Thank you.
Probably at Eco.
Yes, and probably tomorrow. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye. All right, Lakos, how do you sound now?
Sound good, and I can hear you more importantly.
All right, nice.
Okay, so try to keep this within 5 minutes. I'd probably say the good, the bad, and the ugly of Star Citizen, the CitizenCon. The good, I think I like the Planetary Pyro, the New Underground, the Lorville Redux. It was cool to see like all their stuff coming in. like all the new ideas for like locations and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, the need for multiple speeds, the design brief for investigations, like the content was really good this year.
Yeah.
Um, I would say believe it or not, as cool as the ships were for talking ship, I think one of the quote unquote bad things I would say about this thing was that they said like, oh, we're going to show you one ship that's in concept. We're going to show you one ship that's flyable right now. We're going to show you one ship that's like they only showed you like one ship of like each kind of flavor, and I wish they would take talking ship and they would do something. And they did this a couple years ago where they decided, okay, we're going to go through each manufacturer and we're going to kind of at least get like a overview of like what ships are coming nearer in the short term and explain to us why certain ships are taking so long.
Yeah, like I guess for a good example would have been kind of surprising to not see the Banu Merchantman yesterday, right?
Yeah, surprising that we didn't hear anything about the Banu Merchantman. It would have been nice to hear about actually for me the RSI Apollo because it was on the roadmap and then they took it away. And we don't have very many medical ships in game, so it'd be nice to hear like what are their plans for that? Like what are some other manufacturers that like they worked on for a little bit and then they took away? Like
Yeah,
just
but
give
they
us an
do
update.
this. They do this all the time. They do it literally once a quarter. John Crew comes on, they go down the list, they talk about every manufacturer, every ship, everybody asks everything, and they usually say no update and move on.
Yeah, so it would have been nice to kind of get like more of like a long term thing with this, where they would have like said like, okay, in the future we're planning on roughly right now hitting these ships. It would have been
Yeah,
nice to hear like more information.
but that just doesn't work because the plans change all the time. You're asking for something that they're actively trying not to do anymore because it's never made sense ever.
True,
Right?
true. It is
Like I don't want to we should always I would love to know more about the long-term goals for everything. And yeah, why did you choose this ship over another one, or why is this in production, is it not? But the long-term stuff, like if you pay, and I know you do, if you pay any attention, it's always changing.
true.
So it
It
would
just
they
seems
would
that
say it in CitizenCon, and then not
all
you
right,
personally, but people would get mad when they don't hold to that standard that they set, right?
true. But I just think with ships, only really with ships in particular, it seems like they always have like, oh, we have all these concept ships. We have all these ships that are like they're always churning out new ships in concept and new ships in for like flight sales and all this stuff. Like you should at least have some idea with the other ships that are already in concept. But that's a here at this point. It's a here, near, or there.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say I share the same opinion. I don't focus on the ships as much. We have
I'm
so many.
starting to shy away from them too. At this point, it's just kind of annoying that like there's seems to be way too many ships that are like that have been in production forever, and it's like it'd be nice to hear at least a little bit of something. But
You know
uh,
why we're not getting the flight changes quickly or in a
because they're
reasonable amount of
making
time?
too many ships.
Because there's too many ships. Yeah.
Agreed, and that's kind of a. Sometimes I wonder if at a certain point they need to start like limiting their concepts to, like one or two a year or something, just to like tone down the amount of ships that we're getting in every year. But I know sales.
Yeah, that'll never happen.
Uh, so on to other things, I'd probably say try to keep this relatively short. Other things that I've noticed that going into the more of the ugly was I know a lot of people make fun of the back end for just how long it went, but the one thing I picked up that I kept on noticing, at least early on in that 2 hour spiel at the very end, was they kept on saying like, "Oh, the quarterly release schedule doesn't work for us. The quarterly release schedule didn't really work for a lot of the big features." And I've been wondering for a while if they would just at this point, instead of go for like a quarterly release, maybe go for like 3 releases a year,
Hmm.
just like spread out
We've
the
talked
releases.
about that. Yeah.
I kind of feel like they should at this point because I've noticed that
I mean,
they're
Locke,
always
that's
usually at least.
essentially what's happening this year.
Oh, I know. Like that's why I kind of wish they would just admit it from here on out. Just like, okay, we're going to go through like 3 releases a year, give them an extra month per release. Because I've noticed that occasionally, like every year, there's always that one release that's like it's either a train wreck or like nothing gets really released for it. So
Yep.
it's like,
Yep.
guys, just make it 3 releases a year. I think what they're currently doing. Uh, I know they're going to try to push for 318 for IAE. I hope they don't. I hope they just make it a 3.17.4 or whatever. Um, but yeah, I think the only good thing about the longer release schedule is they talk about all this stuff for like the road to 4.0. I think there's actually a decent chance we're going to get a good bit of the stuff in because if it takes because currently 3.8 isn't even Kari. So 3.18, if it gets released this week, 4 months out, that's like January. Another 4 months out, that's May. So you're talking about May for when all this 4.0 stuff may come out. So I think at the very least, we should get to see a meteor patch.
I guess, yeah. I mean, we see it happening with 3.18. The longer it goes, the more features are being added or confirmed with it, I guess.
Yeah. I'd probably say the last thing I'd probably mention before I head out was I did find it funny that towards the very end when they talked about skills, like, oh, it's something for the players to work towards, and my mind immediately went, guys, what about the hangars and habitations we're supposed to get? Like, could we buy our own like bigger apartment?
Yeah, that's two totally different things. That was always planned. This is something they wanted to add more depth to the game. I don't know if it's a positive change or I think, again, we're all speculating on if it's good or if it's bad or why we like it and why we don't. But I think there was always the plan for getting those things. It sounds like it's something you really want, but
Yeah,
the
because I
reality
think
of that is not real.
yeah, I think it's one of those things. I remember they put it on the roadmap for earlier this year, and I think it's going to be something that's going to be off for quite a bit, which is okay. It's
You
one of
saw
those
the
things
freight
that are like,
elevator thing, right?
yeah, I think it's part of the freight elevator thing, and even just getting like basically what I'm for what's going to get me into the game long term and like playing a lot more often is not only the option to like grind up and save for the bigger ships, but to grind up and save for like maybe my own like large apartment, maybe my own like large hangar complex, like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be, but overall, I have to say, pretty good CitizenCon. I don't mind waiting. I have plenty of other things I can do in the meantime to wait for Star Citizen because I think it's going to be May until we're going to even see a possibility for a 4.0 PTU.
I hope you're wrong, but you're probably right on that one.
It's the eternal wait. I have other games like this, like my one big, the other big game that I play is a flight sim, and it's like we keep on just the eternal wait. It's like, oh, it's coming out soon. It's coming out soon. Like, no, it isn't.
Yeah.
But oh well. Otherwise, things are going pretty good. I just say we just got to keep on waiting. That's all.
Sad but true.
All right.
All right, Locke. Have a good one. Glad you got your mic worked out.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye now. All right, our last caller is Certified Gumbo. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what's up? What'd you think? Oh, that's video. Right. I forgot.
Yeah.
He's the one guy that's willing to put the cam on. Hell yeah. So
yeah, man.
Did you watch CitizenCon yesterday? Did you watch a watch party? How did you enjoy it?
Yeah, so I watched it and I had your watch party and I also had Morph up as well. So it was funny.
Screens.
There were moments where you guys were like had the complete opposite reaction to certain things. It was
funny. That's cool.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. But yeah, man. So this is my second CitCon. Last year was my first one. Well, I'll say that I watched live because the others I've seen bits and pieces of, but I mean that's way after the fact. So,
what'd you think?
This format, I love this format way better than last year's because last year was way more technical, and I know that that's not a. I mean, yeah, sure. We need to know about all the technical stuff going on behind the scenes, but to have a full 3-4 hours of it is a little much. This is far more consumer friendly information. I like the fact that most of what we saw was demonstrated in engine, and that made it feel like it was maybe 2 to 3 years instead of 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 years away, only because you can see it working.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff at the end, which was very difficult to get through. I mean,
yeah, even that stuff. I mean, I was shocked
that a lot closer.
Yeah, I mean, and you kind of saw the benefit on screen of them going and focusing on putting stuff in Squadron 42 first, and then at some point, yes, it will make it to the PU. We just don't know when and how long that will be, and then how many other blockers there are that are in the way. Kind of like the power play stuff, that panel, like that is something that I thought was really, really cool. it was way more interesting than I thought it was going to be initially.
True.
I didn't have that run high up on my priority, but like I've got the I'm looking at the screen. I've got the little hit list that they put at the end with the interactables, relay, gameplay, changing fuses, resource balancing, the engineering UI, external engineering screen, and those are things that I think that are more realistic within the next year that they could execute. But the other ones, like the control groups, allowing people to create presets, the tuning parameters, we don't have anything in game currently that would support any of that. And
what I thought was good about this stuff is it's not like the flight combat changes where it needs to be done with everything. They can do it on a couple ships and show the power of it, and then add it slowly to the other ones as well. So I thought that was like a kind of, it may not be at that far off because they can focus on just a couple things instead of having to change the whole game, you know?
Sure. I mean, we've got until this time next year because we'll be waiting for 4.0 to enter Evocati by this time next year anyway. So like,
true.
They've got plenty of time. I mean, at minimum, like if I don't see this. I don't see it. Even in Morph's Discord, like I was saying that, like I don't see 4.0 getting to Evocati before this time next year. Like we'll still be waiting for that.
I hope not.
But I mean, well, I think that there will be a 3.19 as a stopgap, possibly, because if they want like a Q2, Q3 release of 4.0, like, and everything goes as planned, which I just can't psych myself up for, I think that there's a possibility of a 3.19 where you could see like, you know, the Lorville redo. I think that's far enough along where I could see that like Q2 or Q3 of next year being kind of sort of ready to go.
Yeah, nobody even mentioned that until just now. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was, and it's farther along than I thought it was going to be. Good God,
like they work
fast over there. Yeah, like that. I mean, it's pre-recorded, so that was they probably recorded that footage like a month or two ago,
maybe,
possibly. It's just interesting because like it's June. I came down to Georgia to work on a TV show, and it's October, and we're getting ready to wrap that, and we're still waiting on 3.18. So, like to enter, like, like I mean, this is a very. I'm glad that I've been working because like I don't really have time to play, but man, this is a full year in Star Citizen. I've gotten I think a really good taste of how this development process works.
Oh, this year was a tough one, so it's hopefully not how it works for the rest of the time. But I think we're definitely going to go through a tough period here.
I think we're getting closer, man. I think we I will say that this did kind of sort of re-energize me a little bit for the game, because
me as well.
When we talked earlier, like there was a lot of questions about the economy, which we didn't really cover, but I feel like a lot of what they talked about kind of sort of builds towards that.
Interesting. I thought that was like the big piece that was missing. I think that was the one like corner piece of the puzzle. Like they shared almost all three corners, and the fourth one would have been that, and we heard nothing about it.
No, not directly, but I think that the underground facilities and I think the resource power play stuff is kind of playing around the economy. Like because I don't know what other gameplay you could have outside of the current mission structure, which if you look at those new underground facilities, even in their concept, like what gameplay, like the current mission structure would not work in those underground facilities. They're way too big. You've got to add more stuff. Like the ability to control the ability to control like your space stations and like their big long-term lofty goals and stuff. Like I feel like that has maybe some crafting implications.
We can only hope.
Yeah, we'd have to wait for some like a commodity refactor or something to begin talking about that. Like I don't know, but like usability and usables things having actual practical uses in game. Like I thought it was interesting in that Squadron 42 demo. I'm not talking about but what they showed yesterday. I haven't seen the leaked stuff, but him being able to interact with literally everything in the room was pretty interesting. Like I didn't think that we would have that level of interactability in game. I'm assuming that that's a PES thing as well. But yeah, the flight model too. I forgot. Like that was a big one for me. That was the one I was probably looking forward to the most going into it. And I'm excited for that. I think that makes a lot more sense. What they talked about, at least in principle. It's a nice balance between the hardcore flight sim, like your DCS Worlds and stuff like that, and Microsoft Flight Simulator, and like something that's more arcadey. Like I think the current model is a little too arcadey, and this brings it more into like a balanced state than bringing the master modes.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I feel like it's going to be tough with people's aim.
Well, my question is, they didn't really discuss the atmospheric flight changes and the flight control surfaces, because that would be one thing that I wish that they could have covered a little bit more.
I feel like this is so big that's next, but they have to get through this first.
They have to get that done, because if I'm basing the flight combat off of DCS in atmosphere, like how you merge in atmosphere is way different than how you would engage a target in space. Like, merging in DCS is a skill. Like learning how to merge with a target, and that's you have to know your jet in order to merge effectively. Like if you're going for like a 1-turn or a 2-turn merge, like you got to know what your jet is capable of. Like, and that's why I didn't mind the skills thing either. I thought that was a good aspect, especially in atmospheric flight conditions. Like when you're pulling high G maneuvers, like fighter pilots train to put their body so that their bodies can resist those G forces long enough so they don't black out. Like hopefully we can get a Q&A on that so that they can dive a little deeper into what they need to,
because people bought this game based off of the fact that there's no skills at all. Like that was a selling point for people. So this was a big bomb that was dropped, and not necessarily a good one.
And well, I think my thing is with the if let's say hypothetically, right, it takes your default character like 3 seconds to reach a full blackout when they're pulling a high G turn. Like if you do that repeatedly and you're constantly practicing those high G maneuvers, and that buff goes from 3 seconds to like maybe 5 seconds, like I don't see why that would be that big of an issue, because you've actually put the time in and trained appropriately, or trained that character appropriately so that they can handle those high G turns. Because if you're going to be a high speed combat like fighter pilot, like you got to be able to withstand G forces if you want to be like a true ace. Like especially if that matters in a combat scenario, like being able to execute those high G turns so that you can maintain a target lock. Like that shouldn't be there should be some sort of reward or benefit for fighter pilots that actually do that correctly and like put the time in to become like good combat pilots. Like I don't see why that's to me that's not that big of an issue, but it all depends on how they execute, and
it definitely depends on how they execute.
What it is that they implement. But then
they could really fuck this up.
It is a slippery slope, that's for sure, but I'm not completely opposed to the possibility of what they do, as long as it's not like, oh, you start at level 1 and you can go to like level 10. Like it shouldn't be that. It should be completely passive. Like I would prefer you not be able to see those skills, like it's just something that over time you notice a difference because you've been using it. I'd
like to see them, but we'll disagree on that, because the way that you see it is it's better to have a UI for it, I think. But listen, I do have to go a little early today, so I'm disappointed that we're having a good conversation, and I probably have to cut it out early.
Oh yeah, no, for sure,
What's your final thoughts on everything, and how'd you feel?
I mean, I felt this was great. I mean, the end was too long, but
Yeah.
it was definitely inspiring. I feel like I think I'm ready to get into 318 more so than I was prior to.
Yep. Same.
But yeah, I mean, this is good. I think we've made some good progress. Well, the team has made some really good progress.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to get my hands on it. So
hell yeah. Yep. The road to 4.0. Here we go.
Yeah,
we're on
the road to 4.0. Here we are.
All right, Gumbo. I'll let you go, man. Thank you so much for your
man.
call, and I look forward to the next one.
Yep,
And
same.
hopefully you'll have some more time to play soon, when there's
Yeah,
actually worth
hopefully.
it to play.
Yeah, it'll probably be like December, but hey, maybe I'm buying myself time.
That's a good time. That's a good time. All right, bro.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you. Bye-bye. All right, and that was it, boys and girls. That was Answer the Call. And yeah, second one this week was pretty fun. I had to hear what you guys think about things. I'm a little disappointed I have to head out early. Hopefully nothing too bad, because yeah, I have to go to work and everything. So gonna take this test and yeah, enjoy the hopefully you guys all enjoyed CitizenCon. Hopefully this is the right step in the right direction. I will like give my final thoughts. The big thing for me was that everything that they showed was something that works towards the overall game experience and actually making Star Citizen a video game, right? Where previously it was always something that was working on a feature, and Richard Tyrer echoed that when I said it on Captain Burke's podcast last night. Was we are no longer just making features, we're focused on making a game. And it seems like there was some internal structure change where that's the focus now. Unfortunately, the game they're making is Squadron 42 and not Star Citizen. And we'll just have to see over the next year or so what kind of effect is it? Is it a positive effect on the game that we play, or is it a positive effect on the game that we don't? Right? So that's going to be the big kind of factor here from the changes that I've seen. But yeah, that'll do it for the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and we have a Discord, discord.gg and /SaltEMike, and twitch.tv/SaltEMike if you guys ever want to check this out live. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next week when we have nothing to talk about anymore. It's going to be great.